Kastuba Das here with the big announcement for Wisdom of the Sages listeners. This August will be Ashram Month at the Super Soul Farm. Simple ashram living, rising early, morning kirtan, yoga and pranayama, healthy vegan and vegetarian meals, farm seva and being immersed in nature, and then gathering in the evenings for kirtan and readings. Plus, each week we'll have a lead presenter teaching a different facet of the philosophy and lifestyle of Bhakti Yoga. Week number 1 will be the exceptional Bhakti Lata teaching a course called The Beauty of Bhakti, bringing the culture of love and devotion into our lives. Week number 2 is my brother from another mother, Raghunath, teaching Falling in Love with Divinity, the Bhakti Yogi's method for opening the heart. And week number 3 is myself with a course called Following the Path, examining the history and teachings of Bhakti Yoga. You can come for 1, 2, or all 3 weeks, and the pricing is by donation. For more dates and information, go to wisdomofthesages.com/events. Peace.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Thursday's very intense study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. How are you, Kastuba?
Doing good, Raghunath. Happy to be here with you. Happy to be with Mara. Seems like you got a whole nother thing going on there. I just came down from there. It seemed like we're wrapping everything up and you're winding it back up again.
Yeah. You're on break. You're on vacation, and we're getting back to work here.
All
We got a whole kirtan school. We got a whole crew of people here live. Excited.
Super Soul Farm is really just doing stuff.
We're just like, we're
Sage
doing it.
Academy. We got to figure out the whole branding on this whole thing.
I know. We got to figure that out. Me and Mara had to get a bunch of stuff for the farm. Picked up a bunch of stuff and took a road trip to IKEA yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think of that? Road
Got
trip to
lost
IKEA?
in there.
A lot of people out there have known that trip. It's a whole.
IKEA will break your spirit.
It'll break you down. It'll break you down. When you finally have broken down, they're like, here, come here. We'll pick you back up. We got
here,
vegan
have a
meatballs.
meatball.
They got vegan meatballs at IKEA now.
Oh, they're vegan, really?
Yeah, I was like, I said to myself, when I go to IKEA, I'm not eating any of it. I'm not eating any of that stuff. As soon as we walked in the door, I was like, oh, let's see what let's just check out the menu. I got broccoli, mashed potatoes, vegan meatballs.
Really?
I was like, listen,
man,
they were like, do you
never
want
eaten
gravy? I
first.
was like, well, it's not vegan, is it? They were like, yeah, it's vegan. I was like, all right, give me that gravy. It was like the school lunch, but sort of a vegan-y version of it.
It was was it terrible?
No, it was great.
Okay.
But
Did you offer it?
Bun. I didn't eat a cinnamon bun.
Okay.
It was actually gluten-free and vegan, my whole meal.
Yeah, that's good.
And cooked by who knows what kind of consciousness.
No, there was a South Indian Brahmin cooking in the back,
Sure
Chanting
there was.
mantras.
chanting mantras.
Well, they had clearly lost their Brahminical status.
No, they were initiating in the back. There's a fire yagya going on.
All right. I guess IKEA's coming around.
IKEA's like, we got all veganism now. Now we got to get the South Indian Brahmins in here. Oh, God. All right. Well,
why don't we go with announcements, Raghunath? Because we got an interesting nugget after that.
okay.
We have a Bhakti Recovery Group meeting at noon today. And then this evening at 7 p.m., Michelle Berger is offering an asana class for our Patreon members.
Very good.
Part of me when I go to IKEA is like, this stuff is great. There's so many good things here. I need to go to IKEA more.
Yeah,
And then the other
by
part
the
of
time
it,
you get to
the other
end,
part of
you're
me is like, there's a
just
bunch
trying.
there's a bunch of crap here. It's gonna all end up in the waste
Yeah.
in a landfill somewhere. Well, why are we living like this? Right? Anyway,
You're like, consumerism is great. Then you're like, I hate consumerism.
isn't it?
So
Consumerism
quickly.
can beat you up. There's something about Anyway,
They force you to walk that line through the whole thing.
they make you walk that line.
And as you start to get to the end, they're just throwing like all kind of things at you, like smaller things.
And
but
I'm
just, like, tons of-
purchasing it. All right, I'll take that
Throw
spatula.
that-
Yeah,
and they give
throw
you like
those
this.
dish towels in
this
there. Oh, a
ma-
scale. I need to weigh myself. Just throwing it on the basket.
I tried to walk back out to go move my car because there was we took my electric car, and so there was a charging station. So I was like, oh, let me go park in this spot so I can charge my car while we're shopping. And you can't walk back out of IKEA the way you walk in because they send you
No.
up the elevator or in an elevator. Neither of them return to the same place, so they forced me to walk through the entire store.
mousetrap.
They are
Trap
manipulating you
maze.
guys like crazy.
Yeah, she's buying tons of chocolate on the way out. block. They don't even sell bars. They sell like blocks, bricks of chocolate. And they're like, oh, I'll take a brick. I need a brick. It's a good price on a brick of chocolate. I'll take it. Just put it on my credit card.
Okay, now let's flip the script, Rogan, and start talking about mental control. Okay, because clearly you guys are losing it there entirely.
Okay.
And who do we go
Spock.
to when we want? Yeah, that's right. Mr.
Spock brings it back to reality.
Spock week this week here.
I got to get my Spock accent down. This is Spock week, everybody. We getting our nuggets from a half man, half Vulcan member of the Starship Enterprise. Circa 1968.
Okay.
Spock, I am a Vulcan. Doctor.
No, hold it. You're reading it like you're like, I'm a Vulcan. Doctor. No, I'm a Vulcan, doctor. It's like that.
I am a Vulcan, doctor. Pain is a thing of the mind. The mind can be controlled.
Now, this.
It's amazing how this stuff was coming out in the 60s.
It's great stuff. What do you think in the 60s? Like they thought more back then. Okay. They didn't have IKEA, they thought more about life. But I think this is the one that got us on Spock Week, right? Because this is, again, when I was a kid, I actually didn't really watch Star Trek. I wasn't like one of these people that was really into it. I've only probably seen a couple episodes. But somehow I remember this, like it stayed with me, even from when I was a little kid, where like Spock, I forget what was happening, but he was like in some kind of intense pain that, and he's controlling it. And who's the doctor? Is that
McCoy?
That's McCoy. So McCoy is talking to him, and I remember him saying that pain is in the mind, and you can control the mind, so you can control the pain. That's how I remember it. But here we have the actual script.
Here's the script. Good research there, Spock. I'm a Vulcan, doctor. Pain is a thing of the mind. The mind can be controlled. Captain Kirk. You're only half Vulcan. What about the human half, Spock? Spock says, it is proving to be an inconvenience.
No, not providing.
It is proving to be an inconvenience, but it is manageable.
By the way, side squirrel. Captain Kirk, what's his name again? The actor?
Leonard. Jim Jensen. Someone put it on the board, please.
Yeah, but he
Leonard Nimoy.
Leonard Nimoy is Spock.
William
Shatner. He's met with Radha Swami. He's got some kind of spiritual.
Yes, he does. He has met with Radha Swami. That's right.
Yeah. I don't know.
Radha Swami's met everybody.
We should find out the nature of that conversation. Bring that on, right? Reach out.
But he's a great guy.
So anyway, let's read this again, right? Spock says, "I'm a Vulcan." So he's like in total pain, like and he's saying, "I'm a Vulcan, doctor. Pain is a thing of the mind. The mind can be controlled." And then Captain Kirk is like, "Yeah, but you're only half Vulcan. So what about the human half, right? You must be in a lot of pain." Spock says, "It is proving to be an inconvenience." Just think, there's a lot right here in this sentence, right? It's something that we can all take. Anyone living the human experience can take.
It's proving to be an inconvenience being
human. Being a human is proving to be an inconvenience, but it is manageable. And that's what the yogi's doing, right? They're managing it, right? And now I was thinking, is this true? I thought to myself, is it true? Like, is pain something that can be controlled with the mind? Or like physical pain, right? Like we can put emotional pain. Let's put that on the back burner for a second. And can physical pain be controlled by the mind? What do you think, Roger?
There's amount of pain. Pain can't be, but
this is a neurological question, Roger. So
why are you asking me? Am I a neurologist?
I don't know.
I'm a philologist, not a neurologist.
It sounds like you're like, well, let me come up with something here. But I did a little research, Raghunath.
So why are you even asking me? You're baiting me? I have this saying that I think is true, which is pain. Everybody gets pain, but suffering is optional.
Okay, well, there you go.
There you go.
Okay.
The neurologist, Raghunath.
Well, that's interesting, right? And we even mentioned that the other day on the show because Isabel's come on and taken on a new responsibility for Wisdom of the Sages. You know that?
Isabel?
Yeah, you didn't even know that, probably, Raghunath, right?
No one tells me these things.
No, I'm telling you right now.
What's she doing?
She's really helping out with the sage groups because there's just like a lot of background work that has to be done as we get into registration and getting it all up online. She stepped up.
So
But
what
she
about
was
Isabel and her
well, because
pain?
she was telling me the other day that she had chronic pain, and once you learn that this is chronic, it's not going away anytime quick, right? Then you have to start to manage it, like Spock is saying here, right? It's manageable. So then you have to start, and she used a term like she said you have to separate the pain from the suffering, right? Like in other words, you endure the pain, but you don't allow your mind to dwell in the suffering of it,
Sure.
right? So there's that. Now I looked into this a little bit, and they say it is a fact, Raghunath, that pain exists in the brain. Like it's not like say you hit your thumb with a hammer. The pain is actually it's all being registered and calculated and distributed from the brain, right? You with me there?
I'm following. I'm listening. I'm waiting
Yeah.
for the whole
Okay.
statement.
Okay. And I took this. I went and I found some of these medical
What were
articles
you
and
doing
so on.
last night?
I was
Digging through
this
medical
morning.
journals.
This morning, but I
Just
found
at
this one.
4 a.m. I
This
was
one
going to do
was
some medical journals and Googling Spock, and this is what I came up with.
so this is coming from an article that was about arthritis, but it says your mind can cause pain without a physical source. That's interesting, right? In other words, there doesn't
Oh,
even
yeah.
need to be a
Duh,
physical source.
yes.
But I don't mean, in other words, it's not physical pain. Like, in other words, arthritis can be caused, or a feeling of pain in the joints, for instance, can be caused without a physical reason, just
Oh,
purely in the brain, right? So your
okay.
mind can cause pain without a physical source or make pre-existing pain increase or linger. This phenomenon is called psychogenic pain, and it occurs when your pain is related to underlying psychological, emotional, or behavioral factors.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, this is from David Linden, a professor of neuroscience at Johns Hopkins University.
Hmm.
He mentions positive emotions like feeling calm and safe and connected to others can minimize pain, but negative emotions tend to have the opposite effect.
Wow.
So there's this connection. I mean, certainly
Community,
between
Sangha,
all of that. Yeah. So
all that's good stuff that we're into can minimize pain.
right. And so
Cheers to
certainly
that.
there's a connection between the brain and physical pain. I mean, not only a connection, it's like it's all coming from the brain. Um, but beyond that, what is the connection between the mind and the brain? That's something that I really want to study more. But it seems that the brain is looking at it from a yogic or Vedantic point of view, that the brain is kind of like a physical manifestation of the mind, right? It's kind of like there's a connection between the two. But in any case, I just think it's really significant that you have this half Vulcan who's like pure logic, no emotion, right? And then you have, but he's half human, and he's dealing with that human end. Like in other words, we suffer a lot in life. We suffer, and but a yogi can manage it. Can say, you know what? It's inconvenient being a human being, right? The whole thing is inconvenient, isn't it? Every time we try to set something up for our comfort or for our enjoyment, something comes along and makes it more difficult. And when you're a human being, beyond being an animal, it's like there's just all kinds of relationship, entanglements and difficulties and frictions and
This
so on.
mental baggage we carry
Oh
around,
man,
our self-loathing, our blaming, our fear of the future, our burying of resentment,
so much, right?
there's just being in this human condition is painful. Matt, you think the Vulcans are self-loathing? They never self-loathe, these Vulcans.
They never sell one. That's right. So we need a little Vulcan, and that Vulcan is like kind of
We need a little Vulcan, just a little longer.
just this very minute. But yeah, but that Vulcan thing, that's like the oh, he's gone now. He's gone. But that Vulcan thing, that's like the Gyannic side of life, right? Like where one can just kind of like the buddhi, right? The reasoning.
Right.
Allowing that to kind of steer the ship, right? Like in the Upanishads, it's steering the chariot, but maybe in Star Trek, it's steering the starship, right?
Prabhu,
Yeah,
this has probably never happened to you, but I went through a period of like worrying for like, in 2007, when everything crashed and I lost my, went through a bankruptcy. I lost everything. And it was like a period building up to a bankruptcy that like I worried
Mm.
every day, like deep, and it just affects you on such a deep way, like worry, worry, worry. And it's like, this stuff is like the most valuable stuff you can learn. And
how not to let your mind torture you.
how let your mind, yeah. And I just wasn't in the place where I had the strong sangha. That's why the sangha is very important. That's why the show every day is very important, and the community of people, because a lot of times people get into bhakti, or they're brahmacharis, or live in an ashram, and I see all these faces out there on the screen right now, and I'm thinking, you guys are lucky, because you're learning how to sort of be independently into bhakti, where, like, what we did is like,
We're fully dependent.
no, we did is we lived in a temple, and this happens to
Yeah.
a lot of people. You live in a temple for many years, and the community of the bhakti sort of like, you get into it. Okay, we got to wake up, we got to study this morning, got to do this. But then when you're out there and you go get married, or you go out into the material world, it's sort of like you don't have that community ushering you to discipline. And so the Wisdom of Sages crew, we just listen to the podcast every day, and that's like the very least we get to do, and then we add on to that. So unless you're very disciplined, which sometimes people can't be for some reason or another when they're in the workforce, that can lack up. And then when these things come up, like intense worry, or like I lost my house, I lost my car, you can just get overwhelmed by this stuff. And I can say, through the pandemic and all the worry that was coming into my life, the Srimad Bhagavatam became like a safety rope. Like you climb the Himalayas, they throw down this rope, and you're holding onto this rope, and you're climbing, and your foot are like in those metal things. That saves me going through all the shifting of
It saves me from all the
shifting,
where
all the bull shifting that happened in the material world. I was incredibly grateful. The community, the Bhagavatam.
You were in LA at the time, right?
When that happened, 2007, yeah, I was in LA, and then I moved to upstate New York. That was like hell. It all collapsed, but it was like worry, and that stuff can mentally cause so much mental pain, and something, and it never even happens.
Then the government came and bailed you out.
Yeah, our system is okay. You're gonna declare bankruptcy. Okay, fine. You're free from all debt. I was like, what? That's it? That was it? That was it?
What was all that?
Worried all these years for nothing, for this conversation?
Well, I got another Spock nugget for you then, Raghunath. This one probably wasn't going to make it, but because you started talking about worry. This is Spock speaking to the captain. He says, "Worry is a human emotion, Captain. I accept what has happened." Right? So in other words, you could,
Spock.
Yeah, Spock. In other words, you kind of just have to
Spock.
accept, and then you move forward, right? Worry, what does it do for you?
Worry is a human emotion.
It's a human emotion. Right?
What does he say? Worry is a human emotion.
Worry is a human emotion, Captain. I accept what has happened. I guess Captain Kirk must have been said, "But aren't you worried?" Scott, or wait, Spock, aren't you worried? So worry is a human emotion, Captain. I accept what has happened. So in one sense, that's a lot of wisdom about life too, right? You have to accept what you can't change, right? In other words, you accept it and then you move forward, right?
That still was a little Spockish.
Well, I'm telling you, Spock is that Gyannic, Buddhi principle, right? Now it's balanced, with emotion too, right? But that Gyannic side helps a lot. It's important.
It does. It really helps. That's what you need when you're losing everything, when you're sick,
Gyan.
when you're going through heartbreak, when you lose your home, when you're, have chronic sickness. You need a little booty.
Little booty. All right. Now, Ananda Devi tells us that Vulcans are one of the few advanced races in the Federation that has a religion. I had no idea.
Really?
About that.
I had no idea about that too.
Yeah.
How does she know about these things?
I think she's into Star Trek.
She's a Trek.
She's into Star Wars. I know that, right?
Okay.
She studies these things.
All right.
That's how she became the warrior sage princess.
Okay, Squirrel Dave, come on, let's go. Let's go.
All right, so we're ready to get into it.
Narayanam Namaskrit. What?
That's a good one on the chat board. Worrying is praying for things that you don't want.
Oh,
ooh,
nice. Save that one for the nugget for the end there too. Bring that one back. Oh, Aaron Erskine has another one, but anyway, we can save that for the end.
Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Tamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayat. Before we start in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, One should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the super, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva badresu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttamasloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki, by regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotees. All that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmidatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet.
Jai ho.
Whew. Jai ho.
Jai ho.
Jai ho.
What is the ho? Where did they come from anyway?
Where does ho come from? Jai ho. Jai ho. It's like, oh, it's like, oh boy. That might be the origin of oh boy.
Maybe. Jai ho.
Speculation.
Total speculation.
Reading from Canto 4, Chapter 22, Text 29.
I like this new handheld mic.
I was
thing.
just going to comment on that, Raghunath. You know,
like it?
I wasn't going to squirrel, but since you did, no, I don't like it. You see, you're supposed to use that boom mic. It keeps it nice and still. That was because there's the two of us and we had to go back and forth. But I knew you'd get into the Howard Cosell thing of like holding that thing. It makes you
It's
feel
fun.
good, right?
Fun. It's sort of like the old days of being in the band.
All right.
All right. Where are we at?
Text 29.
So who's speaking? Who's speaking? Pull yourself together. Who's
I
speaking?
don't even know where we are.
Go through this on a daily basis.
Sanatan
Sanat Kumar.
Sanakumar.
Sanat Kumar's giving. He's just spilling it. Like he's just like dropping the knowledge left and right. He's
Downloading.
He's downloading wisdom here. It's like a simple but very broad question was asked. You know, like what was the question? I keep forgetting. But it's just like the most simple, like, you know, like how does one achieve the goal of life or something like that. Where is it? Where is it?
It's a great word, isn't it? Download.
He says, I therefore ask you, how in this material world can we very soon achieve the ultimate goal of life? Right? And he started talking about, hey, it's not about ridding yourself of all attachments. It's about realigning those attachments with the source, with the root of all existence, right? With Sri Krishna. And then he begins to talk about the yogic principles, how you practice all these yoga principles, but then you focus the attention and the mind on Sri Krishna, who's like a magnet. You get attracted, right?
Okay, here's
He's
text
expl-
29.
Yeah,
Here's
he's
text
explaining someone. You're tired of my...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's text 29.
let's
That's good.
get serious. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. No. Only because of different causes does a person see a difference between himself and others.
Mhm.
Just as one sees the reflection of a body appearing differently manifested on water or on oil or in a mirror.
Okay. Interesting, right? Let's dig into this one a bit. Read
Only
this again.
because
Ryan.
of different causes
Causes.
does a person see a difference between himself and others.
Mhm. In other words, causes. I think that's referring here. Let's see what the.
I mean,
Sanskrit
we
word
can have like political causes. We can have, for different countries, Ukraine and Russia.
is. But I
or-
think causes means here more like on a karmic sense. In other words, I take on a certain body because it was caused by previous actions of mine. Right now, in the spiritual realm, there is no law of karma. So there isn't this law of cause and effect going on that's creating constant changes in my body and my circumstances, and tied to that is my sense of identity, right? Like you took birth in the Raghunath body. It was male. It was Italian American.
Or l-
It was in Connecticut. All of these things, they were caused by previous activities, right? And whereas Mara, different causes determined her taking birth in that particular body. Now we see, oh, hold it, there's differences here. One's male, one's female, right? One's
Right.
this, one's that. And so it says here, only because of different causes does a person see a difference between themselves and others.
That's sort of what I said.
Is it? Okay. Yeah. What were you talking about again?
I was just saying, like, people are different political parties, or they're different nations, or they're different, genders, or
Sure.
the
Okay.
different skin colors.
All right.
Some causes.
Different causes, but so it's only because we're in this material realm where this law of cause and effect is taking place that is creating all these differences. Actually, underneath it all,
Yeah, we're seeing on a superficial level.
Superficial level, exactly. Superficial level, surface level.
The surface
Underne-
level.
Underneath it all, what?
Can I tell you this?
Yeah.
My friend, he's not a devotee, but he's a good friend of mine. He said he was in a horrible situation. He was in the military where it was like hand-to-hand combat fighting in, I can't remember, it was Iraq or something.
Hold it. This is a friend of yours?
A friend of mine. And
Okay.
he had to kill somebody.
All right.
And he said it was just like the guy was about to kill him and he somehow rolled over and killed this person. But there was like a look. He was like, he was being very vulnerable and it was very upsetting for him to even recall it. But he says, we just looked at each other in the eyes for a moment. And we just realized like we are the same people. We're fighting. It's like some weird karmic game that we are now placed in as enemies.
We're all mixed up in it. Yeah.
We're all just like mixed up in it.
Something about the eyes.
Hunters have said that too.
Yeah, you look in the eyes of the animal, right?
Yeah.
What is it about the eyes, Organith?
What is it about the eye? The eyes are the gateway to this,
to the soul.
The soul, windows to the soul.
I say that.
You said that, Mara.
Thank you, Mara.
Thank you, Mara. Eyes are the gateway to the soul, Mara. Private school study. Private school reflections.
Okay, so now let's get back into this, right? So only because of different causes, right? The shifting material world that we're in that really has nothing to do with us. It's kind of the prison that we're in. We don't need to be here, Only because of different causes does a person see a difference between themselves and others. And then the analogy is given, right?
Yeah.
Just as one sees the reflection of a body appearing differently, manifested on water.
Right. We're in a mirror. You can say a mirror. We have mirrors now.
Well, but there's each one of these has its purpose: water, oil, or mirror. It's like the same person will appear differently when they're reflected. They'll appear one way when they're reflected on water. The same person will appear differently when they're reflected on oil, and still differently when they're reflected in a mirror. You get it?
Yeah.
And so it's not just like three examples of things that may give a reflection. It's saying that the same, the same subject will appear different when reflected in different ways. Similarly, the same soul, just like if you met me, Roghunath, right? Yeah. But I was temporarily in the body.
Oil Kastuba.
I'm sorry?
Oil Kastuba.
No. I'm saying, well, that's the analogy, but I'm saying, like, say you met me, like this very soul, me, but I was temporarily in the body of, let's say, coyote or something. Chimpanzee. I would appear very different, but it's still me. Right. It's still me underneath. And then if later you met me, reincarnated as a I don't know, a duck-billed platypus,
Yeah.
Then I would seem still different again, but it's still me, right?
Would we do the podcast together?
It would be difficult.
Shut up, platypus. He's trying to yell at me.
So this is the meditation of the yogi, right? Only because of different causes does a person see a difference between themselves and others, just as one sees the reflection of a body appearing differently manifested on water, oil, and mirror. So let's read a little from this purport. I took out a little section. You ready? And this is what we're talking about yesterday. We had what was our Sanskrit glossary word yesterday?
Upadhi.
That would be an interesting word. I wish we had Nityananda with us right now, but like dhi means to meditate or to think, right? Upa, I think, sometimes it refers to something that's like a subsection of a particular topic or a smaller topic based on a larger one. Or like, I think like a kund means like a lake and a upakund means like a pond. But in any case, upadhi, like you meditate on yourself as something that you're not, or something that's just a small part of your temporary existence. I assume it has something to do like that, but that's my Sanskrit speculation. I'm not sure about it.
Alrighty.
So here's what Prabhupada is saying. He says, when the living entity is covered by the upadhi, or designated body, they see differences, exactly as one sees differences in reflections of oneself on water, on oil, or in a mirror. When something is reflected on the water, it appears to be moving, right? Because the water moves. So the same Raghunath, if Raghunath sees his reflection on water, it's like, oh, I'm moving, I'm rippling. When it is reflected on the ice, it appears to be fixed.
Mm.
Right, same person, but reflected on a different substance, it appears that he's not moving. When it is reflected on oil, it appears to be hazy.
Mm.
The subject is one. Excuse me. I still haven't shaken this COVID cough, doesn't go away.
Really?
Yeah.
You were coughing all over me the other day.
Sorry about that. The subject is one, but under different conditions, it appears differently. When the qualifying factor is taken away, the qualifying factor, right? In other words, it appears that I'm of the quality of a duck-billed platypus. It appears that I'm of the quality of here. The qualifying factor is what's it's being reflected on. When the qualifying factor is taken away, the whole appears to be one. In other words, when one comes to the Paramahamsa or perfectional stage of life by practicing bhakti yoga, they see only Krishna everywhere. For them, there is no other objective. It's all Krishna's energy manifesting in different ways, right? So Prabhupada writes, in conclusion, due to a different cause, the living entity is visible in different forms as an animal, human being, demigod, tree. Actually, every living entity is the marginal potency of the Supreme Lord. You want to explain what the marginal potency is?
Marginal. What does marginal mean?
On the margin.
It means
on
it
the
can
edge.
be
In between one and the other. Like if you have a piece of paper and it's got the margin, right? The margin is between like the center of the paper and outside the paper.
Yeah.
You want to look that up, Mayor?
Yep. Let's see. Written or printed in the margin of a paper sheet. That's not helpful. Of, relating to, or situated at a border.
A border.
Yep. Or not of central importance.
Oh, there it is. Marginal.
Or located at the fringe of consciousness.
Wasn't there a hardcore band called Marginal Man or something like that?
Yeah. I'm still friends with that guy.
Marginal. So marginal potency means Krishna has his internal potency, which is fully spiritual, eternal, conscious. He has his external potency, which is not conscious and which is constantly shifting. And we're the marginal potency. We are made of spiritual energy, but we have the tendency to be covered by the material energy, to be confused by it. Right? We're that marginal potency. So Prabhupada is saying, actually, every living entity is the marginal potency of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita 5:18, therefore, it is explained that one who actually sees the spirit soul does not distinguish between the learned Brahmana and a dog, an elephant, or a cow. Pandita Samadarshana, very important verse, right? And the origin of your record label's name, right?
Pandita Samadarshana. Those who are pundits, those who are very wise, they have Samadarshana. They see sama, sameness.
Sameness, equality, yeah, sameness.
Equal vision records. That's where
Equal
we got the
vision
name
records.
from. Pandita Samadarshana.
Yeah. So it says one who's actually learned, a pundit, sees only the living entity, not the outward covering. Differentiation is therefore the result of different karma or fruitive activities. That's the causes, right? And then the results that come from that. And when we stop fruitive activities, turning them into acts of devotion, oh, here comes the formula, right, to transcend. When we stop fruitive activities, in other words, when our actions are no longer impelled by the desire for something selfish, something for myself to enjoy separately from my connection to the Supreme, right? When we stop fruitive activities, turning our activities into acts of devotion, I'm not doing it to take something, I'm doing it to offer back, right? Turning them into acts of devotion. We can understand that we are not different from anyone else, regardless of the form, right? I am the same as you, oh, duck-billed platypus, right? I look into the eyes of you, oh, Iraqi, so-called enemy.
So, yeah.
Right.
My cat. I look at my cat like that.
Now, Raghunath, we need to talk about your cat.
Kostuma woke up. He's like, I think this cat was my lover in a previous life.
It's crazy, that cat. It's like it climbs onto your chest. It doesn't just like snuggle up like your average cat. It puts its arms around your neck and
They're
like
very, very special.
and then
cats.
kisses you. And then it starts
puts its
making
arms around
out
your
with you.
neck
It's like,
and
oh,
then-
the cat, I'm married. It's like, back off.
This is getting too intimate.
It's crazy.
Both my cats do that. I think they were trained,
Especially
from my
that
daughter
grayish
from-
one though.
from
That one.
from childhood. They're the most affectionate cats I've ever had, and I'm looking for a cat sitter when I'm going away. I need a cat sitter. Anyone need cat sitters? You must have no dogs.
Okay. Well, when you look in the eyes of that cat, there's all kind of stuff going on. So, Prabhupada writes, and when we stop fruitive activities, turning them into acts of devotion, we can understand that we are not different from anyone else, regardless of the form. This is only possible in Krishna consciousness. In this movement, there are many different races of men from all parts of the world participating, but because they think of themselves as servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they do not differentiate between black and white, yellow and red.
There we have that's the peace formula right here.
Right.
Figured it out. The secrets of the universe have landed on our lap.
Okay.
It's really true.
I mean,
the whole world's lost trying to figure this one thing out. We've got it right here, people.
I tell you, I just
We
think
have to think of everything.
it's the clearest thing that like the answer to like racial divisions and tensions, it doesn't lie in hypersensitivity to it. It just lies into transcending it and starting to relate to each other as spirit, And when you're in a community, people that are on that level, it's not an issue.
There's no tension.
There's no tension.
There's no tension.
Yeah, there's
Go to the
union.
Thursday night kirtan at the Bhakti Center. It's the most
Boom.
racially integrated group.
Totally diverse group. No, it's not on anyone's
Totally
mind.
diverse, not just racially integrated. You got like same
Age,
gender preference differences. No one cares because we're not relating on the frame. We're relating on the soul. The frame, whatever you want to do with your frame, that's your frame.
Okay.
Right?
I'm with you.
We're spirit souls. We relate like that.
Yeah. Right. Good point, Rogana. Thank you.
I didn't make it. The Bhagavatam made it.
All right.
All right. Where are we at, Samara?
Text 30, I think, right?
Text 30. When one's mind and are attracted to sense objects for enjoyment.
Hold it. Start that over. You lagged for a second.
When one's mind and senses are attracted to sense objects for enjoyment, the mind becomes agitated. As a result of continually thinking of sense objects, one's real consciousness almost becomes lost. Like the water in a lake that is gradually sucked up by the big grass straws on its banks.
That's interesting. Another interesting analogy. We're getting one analogy after another here, right? Nature analogy.
As a result of continually thinking of sense objects, one's real consciousness almost becomes lost. Yeah.
Like that real consciousness is Satchit Ananda, right?
Right.
Experiencing, feeling well situated in one's eternality. Fearless, right? In one's knowledge, no confusion, right? In one's Ananda, in one's bliss. But that's just getting sucked up. Well, what's it getting sucked up by? Our focusing our attention, focusing our mind on the objects of the senses. Oh, I'm going to find happiness there. Well, then all that's such an is getting sucked out.
One nice guy that writes to me was sharing that he had a problem with pornography.
Okay.
And that is
that'll suck.
Yeah, that's right. That'll really suck the. What's that verse? What's the verse we just read?
It's gonna suck the original one's real consciousness.
Yeah, our real consciousness. I am spirit, and then when you're absorbed in that, that is telling you you're the body, and you'll find enjoyment through that other body. And it's not just in the reading of the pornography; it's in the remembering of it because it creates. I
don't think reading is the big thing.
What?
I don't think reading is.
Well, you know what I'm saying. Not just looking at the pictures. It's leaving the impressions in the mind that stay with the mind, and then going back to it and sharpening that picture again, and then walking away from it again, and it just stays in the mind. And it creates the consciousness, and it's completely draining of the genuine spiritual consciousness. That's why for men it's very important to draw a line in the sand. Like, I'm not going to go there because it's going to destroy my spiritual life. It's even going to destroy any intimacy I have with someone that I love.
That's really going to pollute the consciousness big time. It's like,
yeah.
Just got to draw the line. And you draw the line, it's not difficult. But if you start to flirt with the line, you
don't flirt with the line.
Don't flirt with
Hashtag
the line.
that one, Mara. Don't flirt with the line.
Draw
the line. Don't flirt with the line. Don't flirt with Maya.
That's yoga,
Don't
right?
flirt with Maya.
I'm not going there. My senses
Yeah.
want to go somewhere. I'm not going to let them go there. That's
Yeah, and
yoga.
if it is a problem, then you need to find a therapist or a 12-step group or something like that deals with that, because we can't let that type of toxicity in the consciousness. It's not going to give us what we want in this world.
There you go.
It's hard. In the old days, it was very difficult. You had to actually make a bold move to go get some pornography. You had to go into a store, purchase it, point to some magazine high on the shelf. I want that one up there. You know what I mean? It was,
Right.
It's like you gotta pay for it, pull out money. Here you go. I'm purchasing this really creepy book right now. And the guy's like, all right. You're like sort of putting yourself out there. Nowadays, it's just a little click away in the privacy of your own home.
Oh,
right?
hasn't
No
it
one has
improved
to
our
know.
lives?
And
right?
it creates secrets, and secrets cause problems.
Now we're so much better off due to technology, right?
Yeah, we're better off.
Yeah.
Now I've created a whole secret self.
But this, if in Bhakti recovery, or if there's a recovery focused on pornography, this would be just a great verse, you know, to hold a talk on or something, right? When one's mind and senses are attracted to the sense objects for enjoyment, the mind becomes agitated, right? I'm no longer in control. It's doing its own thing, right? Even I don't want to go back to that website or whatever. You know, I'm pulled back, right? It's agitated. As a result of continually thinking a sense object, now my mind's thinking about it all the time, one's real consciousness almost becomes lost. Right? What a shame. You know, what a loss. Like the water in a lake that is gradually sucked up by big grass straws.
It's sucking up our intelligence, our spiritual. You know,
Our
I'm thinking of
happiness.
also, and our happiness, our real joy. You know, I was thinking actually this pornography or this hard lust, it's actually the beginning of misogyny, of like hatred towards women, because you're no longer
towards oneself, and then
first
you
you hate
made
the
me this
woman
way.
because you're not seeing them as a being anymore. You're seeing them as, how can I enjoy that thing? It's got nothing to do with their emotions or them as a sentient being. It's just they're an object of your enjoyment, and so it becomes like you depersonalize them. That's why lust and love are like two completely different things.
Yeah. And you know, I'm no like expert in gender studies or psychology or whatever, but
You're
it
not?
seems no, I'm not.
No, he's not an expert in children. I thought he was. Okay.
Oxford
I
degree
thought that
from-
was your. I thought that was your.
My
studying
my
at
Oxford degree is
Oxford.
in philosophy. But it just
So
seems
how's
logical,
Live
right?
doing here? Are you guys all right? Okay, Live's.
I was going to make a point, but
Okay, go on, please. Just checking up on them and just see.
Okay.
They're all like, "Well, I thought he was an expert at that."
But it seems that one, you know, like if you're there, right? Like if due to your own pornography addiction, you know, now you're trapped. You flirted with a line. Now you're sucked in, and you know you're feeling that addictive kind of energy. And so now you're feeling bad about yourself. Now you've lost touch, right? It is like your happiness has been sucked away, you know. And then you're thinking, well, it's the women that are the cause of it, right?
Yeah.
And so then that leads to that misogynistic kind of attitude.
So that's
Just complete
the
illusion.
shame train we're on then.
Yeah.
Shame, the shame
You hate
downward
yourself,
spiral.
you hate
Hate
others.
yourself, you hate others.
Don't go
and
there.
then you go there again, and then you hate women again, and then you hate yourself again.
Yeah.
All aboard the shame train. That's pornography.
All right.
I like that one. All aboard the shame train.
Okay.
Off the shame.
The little
Keep off the
Aussie.
shame train.
little
Everybody
Aussie
off
thing.
the shame train.
Is
All
that-
aboard the shame train. It's Maya. She's the conductor.
I can't believe you haven't busted into Ozzy Osbourne yet, Raghunath, but
I don't
don't
know
even know
Ozzy
that?
Osbourne. I skipped rock and roll and went right to
Okay.
punk.
all right. Next text.
31.
Oh, this text. Oh man, this text. I think we should do the entire
Hold
purport.
it.
Save it for this.
What's that?
Takeaways.
What?
Not just reading the chat board.
Oh, it's on the chat board.
31.
Text
Oh
31,
my
right?
God, and you make me laugh. When one deviates from his original consciousness, he loses the capacity to remember his previous position or recognize his present one. Read that again. When
Okay.
one deviates from his original consciousness, he loses the capacity to remember his previous position or recognize his present one. When remembrance is lost, all knowledge acquired is based on a false foundation.
Boom.
Boom! When this occurs, learned scholars consider that the soul is lost.
That's such a big statement there, right? Like when remembrance is lost, all knowledge acquired is based on a false foundation. That's the false premise, right?
Mhm.
Even if you calculate everything, right? Look, for instance, we may be skilled in this world. We may be educated in this world. We may have it really well developed. I might be a neurophysicist or something, a neuropsych. I may be a psychologist. I may be a physicist. I may have degrees and so on. But if it's all based on a false foundation, like I'm going to find happiness through the senses, right? Then it doesn't matter how well developed it is. There's a false premise in the beginning that's just thrown my whole life out of whack. Are you even there, Raghunath?
Taking
You're
it
like,
in.
okay.
You're speaking wisdom. I'm downloading it.
All right. All right. I'm sitting there waiting for you to come back. Okay, let's start this text again.
All right. When one deviates from his original consciousness, he loses the capacity to remember his previous position or recognize his present one. When remembrance is lost, all knowledge acquired is based on false foundation.
There you go.
When this occurs, learned scholars consider that the soul is lost.
Let's read the entire commentary in the short amount of time that we have left.
All right. Okay. Ready? Get ready for this thing.
Yeah.
This is the commentary for text 31. The living entity or the soul is ever existing and eternal. It cannot
Okay.
be lost. But learned scholars say that the soul is lost when actual knowledge is not working.
Okay.
That is the difference between animals and human beings. According to less intelligent philosophers, animals have no soul. Right? Less intelligent philosophers say that.
They're not thinking very clearly.
My mom said that.
Well,
Animals don't have
your mother is a
souls.
less intelligent philosopher?
My mom was a less intelligent philosopher.
Not when it comes
but
to
facts-
where to dive into water.
She
about that?
was very deep. Okay. That is the difference between animals and human beings. According to less
wait.
intelligent philosophers, animals have no soul. But factually, animals have souls.
Come on.
Due to the animal's gross, look at it. It's looking back at you, my dog. When I look in Gus's eyes, that thing looks right back at me. He sees my soul. I see his souls. Just like when I looked into the eyes of that kangaroo.
When Gus like looks at you eye to eye, he's like, I'm trapped in a really Tomazic body.
He
waiting to
does.
get out.
Why didn't you teach me anything?
Help me.
I know nothing. I had this facility to learn so many tricks.
I
And
just
you've
lie
taught me
around
nothing. Now all I
all
do is
day.
sleep. Why don't you get me a dog life coach? I need to do something with this life. I just sleep all day. I sleep and eat and I sleep. Due to the animal's gross ignorance, however, it appears that they have lost their souls.
Okay.
It's a good analogy. Without the soul, a body cannot move. That is the difference between a living body and a dead body. When the soul is out of the body is called dead. The soul is said to be lost when there is no proper knowledge exhibited.
Mhm.
Our original consciousness is Krishna consciousness, right? Because we are part and parcel of Krishna. When the consciousness is misguided and one is put into the material atmosphere, which pollutes the original consciousness, one thinks that he is the product of the material elements. Mm-hmm.
Now, this is what I am. This body, right? I'm a blend of all these
I'm a
different
body. I'm a
material
man.
elements. My consciousness developed just out of a blend of material elements. No.
You ever hear people say things like that? Look, hey man, I'm only human.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Watch out. When they say things like that, they're about
That's
to
the
do something horrible,
rationalization. Yeah.
right? It's a rationalization because we're not human. That's the interesting thing. If you're listening to this podcast right now, you can walk out the door and say loudly, I am not a human being.
Okay.
We're not. We're pure spirit soul. And if you call yourself a human being, you limit yourself to that human machine.
When you call yourself a human being, you limit yourself to that machine.
Yes. T-shirt. That
Song right there.
Okay.
Poetry you're speaking spontaneously.
Sometimes people say things like, hey man, we're only animals, right? That's when they're going to do something real bad.
Okay.
That's right. They're setting themselves to do, right? They're justifying to do something real, real bad right there.
Okay. Start again with our original consciousness.
Our original consciousness is Krishna consciousness because we are part and parcel of Krishna. When this consciousness is misguided and one is put into the material atmosphere, which pollutes the original consciousness, one thinks that he is a product of the material elements. Thus, one loses his real remembrance of his position as part and parcel of the personality of Godhead. Just as a man who sleeps forgets himself. In this way, when the activities of the proper consciousness are checked, all the activities of the lost soul are performed on a false basis. At the present moment, human civilization is acting on the false platform of bodily identification. Therefore, it can be said that all the people of the present age have lost their souls. And in this respect, they are no better than animals.
There you go, Raghunath.
Man or beast. Whew. That was powerful. And it's time, my friend. Kostuba, wrapped in your bhakti, you've lost time. You're transcending the time factor.
I'm ready to end the show. I'm right on time.
All right, Mara, what do we have? Give us some information that we can store in our goodie box so we can take with us in the course of the day when a material sinkhole appears right before us and we can cope with it. Help us, Mara. What have you taken away from this show today?
Being human can be an inconvenience.
Yes, but manageable.
Manageable inconvenience. Thank you.
Suffering is optional.
Suffering is optional.
Mm-hmm.
Minimize pain through positivity and community.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sangha and sadhana discipline your mind.
Sangha and
Yes.
sadhana, discipline your mind.
Sangha and sadhana can discipline your mind.
Vulcans never self-loathe.
They
They
don't.
don't.
They
Yeah,
don't.
they
They just
don't.
don't do that.
Don't worry, accept and move forward.
Don't worry. Accept
and move forward. Like it.
Yeah. Yes. I'd wear that
Yeah,
shirt.
so Raghunath worked that out, and he approves. This message is approved by Raghunath. Next.
Worrying is praying for things you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
Worrying is praying for things you don't want. Wow.
Meditating on them. Yeah.
Draw the line. Don't flirt with the line.
Don't flirt with the line.
Don't flirt
Sounds
with
like a
Maya.
Johnny Cash or something like that. Don't flirt with the line.
Secrets cause problems.
Secrets cause problems. Careful.
T-shirt
Mhm.
cutting,
Maybe.
don't let real consciousness get polluted and sucked up.
Don't let it happen.
Keep off the shame train.
Mhm.
All aboard the shame train.
Hold it, cat. I'm married.
Yeah, that's-
I need a cat sitter, 1 month cat sitter. You can also embrace my cat in great romantic love.
The chit will save you from the shifting sands.
That's right.
Ooh, we like that one.
And we need a little Vulcan.
We need a little Vulcan. Oh my God. What went wrong when they built this machine? Thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks everybody on Zoom. Great to have you sharing the Srimad Bhagavatam together like one family. Who's here that I didn't say good morning to? Oh, Tracy L. Good morning. Harshal Gore, Letty Nelson.